Imagínate que dos millennial cubanitas from the 305 got together and made un show.
That's Take It Easy, a show that celebrates and educates on all things Cuban American. I'm Frida.
And I'm Carmen. We are two BFFs who kept getting told, ustedes son un show.
We decided to make one. Take It Easy.
T-E-I-K-I-R-I-S-I.
We explore the Cubanity.
Y amamos tremenda pachanga. New episodes are out every other Wednesday.
On Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you listen to podcasts.
Take it easy.
Hey everyone, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is Season 5 of Pero Let Me Tell You. Finally, television now will be back
Can go back to
regular
normal.
commercials.
Yes, I'm done seeing Fulano de tal is the devil. You know, yeah.
Everything going wrong in the world and your life
And
is
I
this
love
person's fault.
how it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. The other side is dangerous.
Yes, and reckless.
The only thing more dangerous was Michael Jackson's album.
Well, on that note, everyone, welcome to episode 229 or
Yes.
229. Why did I say 229?
Because you felt like spelling it out.
Yeah.
You were having a
Episode
moment.
229 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Yes, and we are on the other side of election. 2022 midterms are finally done.
I feel I need to get a chiropractic adjustment.
Pero
Luckily, your friend tried to snap crack.
this is true. Can help. Yeah, that's true. Just show up. They can help you out.
Oh, how is everyone? We made it through another week, through
Yes,
another election
well,
cycle.
Another election cycle. We dodged a tropical storm hurricane bullet this
Yes,
week in Miami.
We did. It's just rained a lot, but you know,
But that's Miami.
That's every other
Yeah,
Tuesday.
Yeah, but it's like, coño, really? Arriba de todo, daylight savings, elections, and a freaking, tropical storm?
So, what do we think about daylight savings time?
I'm pro daylight savings, but that's because I feel more productive when the sun goes down.
Well, no, we're not in daylight savings time now.
Yes. Wait.
No.
Yes,
Daylight-
we're saving it.
No,
Yes, we're putting it away earlier.
No, daylight saving is in the summer. So
No, that's when we spring forward. When you spring forward, you're spending the daylight. When you fall back, like, think about it. Think of the Spice Girls. At 2, it became 1. So therefore, you put an hour away. You put it back. So we're saving it now. I don't know what we're saving it for, but we're saving it now.
But wait, you're saving it in the morning?
Well, we're saving it throughout the day, really.
Well, no, because now when you wake up, it's brighter.
Right.
So are you?
But the day goes away earlier, so you're saving it. You're putting it away earlier.
And where is this bank of extra hours that when you open it, it's just like sunshine comes out?
What kind of interest rate are we getting on the
Rayo de
daylight?
luz. You open up the box and it's like, whoa. You know?
Maybe that's what Yolanda wanted us to find in the box.
Okay, so we're in daylight savings time now?
Yes.
Well, this is something, as you know, this and addresses in Miami are not my forte.
No, yeah.
You know, people here in Miami are like, yo vivo en la 152 y la 117. And I'm like, I have no clue where that's at.
That's not true, because you know la 117, so then you can figure it out.
Yeah, no.
You live off of la 117.
Sort of, but not really. I have no idea where la 152 is.
South.
South where?
South after Kendall Drive.
No, and here in Miami, I love how like Flagler is the grid between Northwest and Southwest.
Yes, it's the zero.
Then you could have two addresses, like, you know, because like in Hialeah,
depending on whether it's in Northwest or Southwest.
because in Hialeah, as I tell people, like the main thoroughfare of Hialeah, depending on who you talk to, is either la 103 or la 49.
Right.
And when I first moved to Hialeah, my office
Yeah.
in I don't live in Hialeah. I go by what's on the Palmetto, and the Palmetto says exit to 103rd Street,
Right.
Or Avenue.
But no, it's la
and I
49.
would tell people, no se tienes que apear del Palmetto en la 103, a la 49, no la 103, no la 49. I'm like, no, la 103, until I found out
We're both saying the same thing.
that 103rd and 49th Street are the same thing, because that makes total sense, right?
Welcome to Miami, children. That's all I got to say about that.
I've said this a million times. I've never lived in New York, but I've gone to New York a lot. In New York, addresses make sense.
I know where I'm going.
Addresses make sense. I remember in like Chicago, I've never lived in Chicago, but I used to go to Chicago all the time.
Right.
People, I used to be able to give directions to people in Chicago, and I never lived there because addresses make sense, right? So that's what I always say about Miami addresses. If you're on 14th Street, you know what should be after 14th Street?
15.
15, not
15. Or 13, depending where you're going. Right.
Not, you're on 14th Street? No, 14th Court, 14th,
then 14th
Terrace,
14th Place,
14th Path. Then you get to like 16, but then it goes back to 15, and you know, it makes no sense
at all.
No sense. Yo soy un analfabeto when it comes down to addresses.
No, I don't think you're un analfabeto. I think you're trying to do what so many have tried to do in Miami and failed, which is apply logic.
Oh, well, yes. Excuse me for trying to be logical.
So you're just failing where others have failed as well.
You know what the only thing that sort of saves me? That's why when I ask for an address, I ask for the zip code.
Really?
Yes, because for example, if I know it's 33165, I know it's Westchester. So okay, I'm in that side of town.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I'm by, where we went to school and all that.
You have a mental...
Okay, so I know that in that, 10-mile radius...
This is how it functions.
What I'm looking for is within that 10-mile radius, right? Because if you don't give me the zip code, I'm like, okay, that could be...
Miami Beach. It could be Opelika. It could be Homestead.
Knows?
Well, sure.
We'll go where the GPS takes us.
Oh, Lord. Speaking of going where the GPS takes us, I'm going to do a very quick bulletin board, as you called it once. So on November 19th, we have a Pimpan Pollo pop-up in Hialeah at King Fox Brewery. It's going to be our first time there. They are a nano brewery. That doesn't mean that they brew grandmothers. It's a small brewery. So looking forward to that one. And then obviously on the 26th of November, Thanksgiving weekend, we're going to be at J. Wakefield during the day. We'll post all of this, obviously. We're also on December 2nd, we're going to be at Croqueta Palooza. So that, guys, I know we've talked about it ad nauseum, how fantastic we love it. Make sure you get your tickets. Also keep an eye out because we're going to be giving away 2 tickets to our listeners, our followers. Trivia at Beat Culture is coming up on the 16th of November. Again, it's the 3rd Wednesday of every month. So guys, come on. I know it's the holidays are coming, but don't let trivia die. We need you. It's fun. Plus we give away, gift cards for donuts. In addition to bar tabs. And for those of you who are looking for the perfect Christmas gift, we have our t-shirts on sale at our TeePublic store. So just go to teepublic.com and look up Pero Let Me Tell You. We've got our logo, which you can slap on everything from t-shirts to mugs to tote bags to pillows. We also have our Lechon Life. I just uploaded it yesterday. It says, I'm un hashtag Pero Primo. Show your love for the podcast. And we've got more of them coming up. So that was my impression of Thalia on the Wendy Williams show, where she plugged 40 things
in like one breath.
While Wendy Williams was being ratchet, and all Wendy Williams wanted to talk about was Tommy Mottola and Mariah. And she's like, "Ay, Wendy, pero the Donna Summer musical that I'm producing, and while I went there, I wore my shoes that are from the Thalia Sodi collection, and I also wore my Thalia Sodi eyeglasses. And have you heard my new single? Because I just released another album." It was a masterclass in how to ignore the ratchetness and just do what you got to do.
Yeah, go out and promote.
Promote. What did you got to promote?
So, okay, well, now that everybody knows
where to find us over the next 3 weeks,
what we're doing. So, before we get into our regularly scheduled programming, so something happened this week in the office that is just so. It's so Miami that you can't make this shit up. Okay. Right? And, I've said this to you before. Sometimes when certain things happen to me and the same thing to you, or we see certain things, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like podcast fodder.
Yep. You put it in the bank. Yep.
So earlier in the week, there's a client that came in because she was having a problem in her community.
Okay.
So
like with her HOA?
Sort of.
Okay.
So here's where the Miami of it all comes. She has un santero in her community.
Okay.
I forget how many doors down they live. And
to be clear, this is not our sandwich.
No.
Okay.
Or our wings. No.
Right. Okay.
No, a legit santero.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Got it.
Like the ones you find anywhere, but they're even better and more effective in Hialeah.
Well, this is true.
Right. I'm sure santeros in Hialeah have more power.
They do.
Yeah.
I can't verify that, but we just know.
Like, do you think that un santero has the same power in Pinecrest?
I know. I mean, why bother?
Or like Homestead?
Why bother if you're in Pinecrest?
Anyway, she had a problem because there's a santero that is in her community. I forget how many doors down from where she's at.
Okay.
That keeps throwing dead chickens in the corner of her block. Because you know the thing with brujeria, it has to be in a corner.
Yes.
And
it's an intersection, right?
Yes. And she says that she has video footage of it because of her ring.
Oh,
Right.
rings are very helpful now. Yeah.
Ring. But here's the thing.
Oh God.
I had talked to her about the phone over this, and I told her, listen, unless it's like the only way we could do this is like littering.
It's like but it's almost like a fine.
But then the thing with littering is that you have to catch them littering.
Right.
And this but I have footage of him walking in front of my house, at 2 a.m. And I'm like, well, did you see the dead chicken in his hand? And did you see him throwing it at the corner? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know about that. Right. But I'm like, bring me over the bylaws of the association so I could take a look at that. Okay. And I started looking through the bylaws of the association, and I had a moment. Because I stopped and I go, wait, am I really going through the bylaws of somebody's HOA to see if there's a Santero clause? Like, I was trying to
Santa's lesser known brother.
like a clause on like sacrifice, like a religious exemption.
Like, what am I looking for here? Right,
exactly. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I had a moment, and
sir, you have just Miami more than Miami has.
I was trying to find maybe because HOA clauses do have sometimes like a nuisance policy,
like a dumping or
like a nuisance. Because the thing is that, again, this is all how hard to prove. I mean, what was she gonna do? Go to the next HOA meetings and go, I know you're throwing dead chickens in the corner of my house. Like, it's a little bit hard, right? So, again, I didn't really have much resolution for it. I told her what I tell a lot of people. I told her, look, ma'am, if you know that it's him, I told her, have you talked to him? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, if you know that it's him, just try to amicably solve this or resolve this. I mean, go and speak to him and tell him, look, I've seen you. I know it is. This is bothering me. I don't want it to be a big deal. Go do it wherever you want, but please, I'm in the corner, in the corner of my house, whatever. That's what I told her to do. But again, I was sort of like, wait, are we really going through this person's HOA, like, huge,
I guarantee you they don't do that in Connecticut.
Bylaws to see how I could catch the guy doing Santeria rituals.
Like, what am I going to charge him with?
Like, what are we doing this Santeria undercover? Like, Santeria in the middle of the night. Clandestine Santeria. Like, and that's when I'm like, this couldn't be more Miami if you tried.
You were Miamiing so hard, I'm surprised Billy Corbin didn't show up to make a documentary.
Yeah, Billy. Yes. That's a great segue into what I wanted to talk next.
Well,
so
that's what I'm here for.
So now that you said Billy Corbin and documentary, of course, those two go hand in hand.
It's as they should.
Billy Corbin. We were going to talk about it last week, but somehow we didn't.
Yeah, we forgot.
But Billy Corbin recently released in the last few days or a few weeks his latest documentary on Hulu called God Forbid, which is pretty much the fall of Jerry Falwell Jr. And the Pool Boy. So for those of you who've seen it, you know exactly what we're going to talk about. For those of you who have not seen it, I think it was Billy Corbin himself who said, or somebody that I read said, it has everything you think about Miami. Corruption that somehow ends in a real estate deal gone bad. And mortgage brokers.
Mortgage brokers are always invested.
Yes. Mortgage brokers are somehow involved there. But anyway, so the documentary is about, again, Jerry Falwell Jr., who is the son of the infamous televangelist and well...
Was he televangelist or...
I don't know if he was a televangelist per se, but he was always on TV.
Well, I believe he took over Jim and Tammy's business when Jim had his fall.
Well, that's why I don't know if he was like...
right.
But he was always on TV.
Yeah.
Because I remember him. Yeah. Right?
But he's the president of what's the university called?
Liberty University. Right? So this is like a family that is big on like white evangelical,
quote unquote Christian values.
Christian values, blah blah blah, like hardcore,
Yeah.
right? And him and his wife were one day here in Miami at the Fountain Blue.
As one does.
You know what's so awesome? Did you see when that happened? It happened in, I forgot what month of 2012. And I was thinking about in 2012 when we stayed at the Fountain Blue for my birthday.
Were we there?
And I was like, what's his name? Giancarlo?
Oh, shoot. I forgot his
The
name.
guy?
The
I was
pool
like, oh, maybe he was our pool boy.
I have to look it up because I refuse to have us just call
but
him the pool boy
so
for an hour.
it was pretty much them, Jerry Falwell's wife. What was her name? Sherry? The wife. She liked the pool boy. And they started
attractive looking chap.
They started
Giancarlo Grande.
right. They started a relationship.
Becky is her name.
Becky. But what I think is great about the pool boy is that the pool boy, Giancarlo, is Cuban from Westchester who went to St. Brendan. Again, you can't get more Miami. So I was like, I'm sure we bumped into him somewhere.
He's probably a little younger than us, but not by much.
He's down the street from us.
We've been shopping at Publix when Giancarlo was at Publix, and we've
we
gone to the
probably know
fair.
Giancarlo's parents. Like,
We were at the fair at one point when Giancarlo was at
when
the fair.
he said that, he's like, oh, I'm Cuban American, check. From Miami, check. From Westchester, I was like, he went to St. Brendan. I was like,
actually, maybe Jose knows his family.
like, we know you. Like, even if we don't know you, we know you. We know you.
Yeah.
But, and again, I'm not going to go over the whole documentary, but in true Miami style, even though this had to do with corruption and hypocrisy of, evangelical Christian and all that comes with that, and the fact that they were having a throuple, which, again, you do you.
Here's the thing. That's not a problem in and of itself. The problem becomes when you are the head of a university that literally has rules that people can't
Even
drink, can't date or whatever. And then you go to the Fountain Blue and you're, drinking Mai Tais left and right and in the corner getting off to your wife being brailed by the pool boy.
Right.
That's where I have an issue.
Again, what I loved about the documentary was that what led to all of this happening, because then Trump has a lot to do with this, because then Falwell does the endorsement of Trump in 2016.
Yeah. Which is really what gets him the...
Right. A lot of people think that endorsement, which made Christian, evangelical Christians vote for Trump and be such fans of Trump.
It legitimized him.
Exactly.
In that way. Yeah.
Exactly. So when he gets even more attention, Jerry Falwell Jr., right? Then now he's like in every, he's made national attention.
Yeah, he's at the top of the
So
chain.
he's on everybody's radar.
Right.
So then that's when people start looking into him. And then they see this shady real estate deal that went down here in Miami with shady realtors and mortgage brokers. And I'm like, again.
Because what does Billy Corbin always say Miami is?
The sunny place for shady people.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, of course it's a Miami shade story.
Of course.
There's realtors and mortgage brokers involved.
That's all you need
and
to
again,
know.
nothing against realtors and mortgage brokers. A few years ago, I went out to get a real estate
true,
license.
you did.
I never ended up getting one, but there's a lot of people in that profession here that probably shouldn't be and aren't for the wrong reasons. But I'm like, this is like beautifully Miami.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful disaster, como dice
Kelly Clarkson. It's funny because I had actually heard about that story about maybe a year ago.
And those of you who have not watched it, go watch it.
Go watch it. It's fantastic.
And it's not a long watch. It's like an hour and a half,
give or take.
45 minutes.
Yeah. I had heard about the story maybe about a year ago or so because I listened to a podcast about it, and then I heard another podcast. But a lot of times lately, I found that by the time documentaries come out, I've already heard like 2 or 3 podcasts about something. I'm sure you can relate, Elizabeth Holmes.
Yes, I told you I should be an expert witness on Elizabeth Holmes.
I think I think they should mount Elizabeth Holmes the musical, and you should write it.
Okay,
like we can get the backers.
I know where it starts,
and you know where it ends.
Yes.
What I find fascinating about the entire thing is, again, I love a story where people who are hypocrites get taken down.
Yeah.
That's just, I live for that.
But this is like hypocritical, like on another level.
Right. Because these are people who went around telling other people how to live their life.
Right.
Right.
Had a lot of power.
And how dare you, think that I can't tell you and you're doing something wrong and you're wrong and you're wrong and you're wrong. And they were going out and doing all of the things that they were saying were wrong.
Nothing
they did was wrong. Let me be very, very strict about
sex
this.
with the pool boy in her kid's bed, and they videotaped it.
And he was there watching it because he likes being a cock. You know, like it is what it is. What I think is so indicative of that entire hypocrisy, religiosity world is that immediately when they got caught, who did they shift the blame to?
Him.
Her.
Well, yeah, her. Yeah.
Her.
Jerry Falwell Jr. threw his wife under the bus.
Immediately, it was like, oh, she sinned.
Yeah.
She sinned. We're gonna pray for her, but it was her. And then not until Giancarlo started actually going to the media and released the video, which they show in the documentary, where he's talking to Becky, and then Jerry Falwell Jr. comes out like in the doorway, like, hey buddy, how are you? Oh my God, blah blah. I'm like, right, you had no clue about anything.
Let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this though. Regarding Giancarlo, the pool boy, was there ever a moment that you were like, dude, it's like one decision after another bad decision? It's like, come on.
Yeah, but it's called our 20s.
You know what though? That's why I asked you. That's why I asked you that, because there was a moment that I was like, dude, no se tan come mierda. Like,
right. You know what? I'm gonna kind of side with that sentiment for a minute, because we're not talking about something that went on for like a couple of weeks.
Right.
Like this went on years.
Right.
So there is a point where you either you're being tremendo come mierda naive, or you think you know what you're doing.
Right. And he something he said during the documentary several times was like, oh, it was then that I realized. Oh, it was later that I realized. Oh, it was then when I saw.
What was the end game for him?
Right. And he would be like, for example, when he was the part of the documentary, and I'm going somewhere with this. The part of the documentary when he moves to DC and he goes to Georgetown and he gets a job at like a really good at a really good firm.
Right.
But then they find out about it because he's trying to leave them. Right?
Yes, yeah.
And then he's like, oh, but I told her. He told Becky. And I'm like, but why did you tell her? Like, and then she sabotaged him.
Right.
It's like, dude, no se tan come mierda y tan idiota.
Do you think it's because he went to a private school?
But then you know what though? Because nowadays we use the word grooming a lot, right?
Right.
And I'm like, he was 20. And then I think, if I would have been 20 years old, and you've known me since I was 10 years old.
Right.
I've always been somebody who's had a very good head on his shoulders.
Right,
And I never went through like a crazy phase, because I've always been very like...
Yeah, your crazy phase was like, not using a straw with Ovaltine.
Like, I've never gone through like a crazy party phase, because I've always been very, not that people that do are not, but I've always been very like,
that's just not who you are. That's just not you. That's not
I'm
you.
staying in my lane, right? And I'm like, I think I would have fallen into that, because like, he's only 20 and you're dealing with such powerful, persuasive, manipulative people that know your weaknesses, they know how to play you, and they know how to groom you, And
you're probably not the first.
Right. And that's why I tell you that, like, on the one hand, I'm like, dude, no seas tan come mierda. Right. Pero ¿qué te pasa a ti? Like, you come from Westchester, you're Cuban.
Like, God damn it, you grew up on Bird Road.
Yes. Like, come on. Like, but then
it's not the hood like A-Rod, but still.
Yes. But then it's like, okay, but you were dealing with people that are masters at deception.
Right.
So
that's true.
You have to give this person a little bit of grace and be like, okay,
fair enough. But I just wonder, at what point did it go from just being like, dude, I'm banging this hot cougar, like 20-something, like bragging to your friends type of a situation, to, well, I guess I'm in a throuple now.
Well, but you know what though?
Like, I just wonder.
But that's why when we say we don't know him, but we know him.
Right.
Just think about the fact that he was 20, and then a few months later, he's buying this multi-million-dollar real estate, because that's something they explain in the video, that the Falwells buy him a hostel in South Beach. And he's like, he didn't obviously pay for it, but he's part owner of it. So now he's part owner of a multi-million-dollar thing. Can you just imagine?
He's involved.
Here in Miami, be like, bro, like, I'm hanging out with some big money.
I'm banging this chick, and her husband bought me a building.
We're gonna make some moves. We're gonna make some moves, bro. We're gonna make some moves, bro. We're gonna make some moves, and we're gonna
be popping bottles.
We're gonna be popping bottles at 11, bro. Come on. You know that's how we do it in the 305. You know that's how that went down,
The
right?
fact that we were able to do this off the cuff shows how much we know him without knowing him.
Right. Well, we are from here.
That's what I'm saying. Right. We grew up with these cats, right?
We could write the book about this.
Oh my god. No, you're right. I mean, yeah, you're right.
And I bet you the call. Yo, Giancarlo's killing it, bro. Like, we got to get in on that.
I know. Did you see, bro? He like picked up the tab last night and shit.
Bro, that tab was like 12 G's. He dropped 12 G's at 11.
He put that card down. He didn't even look.
It was a black card. Pero estaba durmiendo en la casa de los padres en el
Oh
cuarto.
yeah, of course he was. He was 20. He was 20.
Probably getting Wi-Fi from his neighbor.
I will say where the documentary kind of lost me a little bit was toward the end. I see what Billy was trying to do and how he was trying to tie it to current events. I don't think he's wrong, but it felt a little heavy-handed. Mm-hmm. You know, at the end where it was just like, and because of this, now we have Donald Trump, and it's all. Honestly, I see what he was trying to interweave, but I just felt the way it was done was a little.
I didn't know. I knew about this because I remember when it happened, 2-3 years ago, when the scandal broke. But I guess I didn't realize that, you know,
how intertwined
Donald Trump was there. And then again, the curveball nobody saw coming. All of a sudden, Tom Arnold is in the documentary.
Who would have thought just as Roseanne goes down, Tom Arnold comes up?
Yeah.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. But speaking of, as we said at the beginning, we just got through the 2022 elections. I just want to bring it up for two reasons. Number one, because as you are sitting right in front of the stack of propaganda that I got.
That is what it is, propaganda.
Pick it up. And how much does that feel like to you? We're going to take a picture of this, listeners, so you can see the amount of just mailers that I got. Okay, I kept it for the beginning.
If I was at the gym.
Okay, that's fair.
It's just probably like, it's not 5 pounds. It's probably like 2.5 pounds.
Okay.
I'll just mail.
Yeah. So when the first couple of ones started coming through, when election season started, I was like, I'm going to save them. And I'm going to see how much I get in just mailers and mailers and mailers about every single candidate. Because remember, I'm registered as an independent. So in theory, everybody should be trying to get
I don't
my
get
vote.
shit.
It's like 2 pounds of just paper.
No, when I came in and I saw it, I was a little surprised because even though I'm very politically active and I work in politics, I'm not registered as an independent, so nobody cares about me. Like, nobody wants to win me over, you know?
But it's just insane to me the amount of money that goes into these mailers. Like, if they would just honestly, if you saved money on the mailers, you could probably send each of us a check for at least $200.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
This is a lot. I'm going through it now.
He's going one by one,
and it's like the rhetoric on these things are just awful.
And it's across the board, let me tell you, because it's everybody. Because
it's across the board, but there's more.
No. But what I mean by across the board is like there are some that are like not directly from a candidate, so you are getting it. You know,
okay, Liana Cabrera's
Liana Garcia wishing you
a happy birthday. Well, let me ask you this though, because
for the record, none of this makes any difference.
Well,
to me
that's what I was going to ask you. As an independent voter,
right?
Do these type of things have any type of effect on you? This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everybody knows the holidays can be a time of great joy and togetherness with the food, parties, and family. But they can also be a time that causes us to feel anxiety, stress, or even depression. And let's face it, having your tía tell you que cambies la cara during dinner doesn't exactly help. What you need, and maybe your tía también, is a gift to yourself. The ability to speak with a professional about your experiences. Enter BetterHelp. A customized online therapy provider, BetterHelp offers therapy options that align with your time via phone, video, text, or even live chat sessions with a certified therapist. BetterHelp's customized approach matches you with a therapist in under 48 hours based on your needs and creating the opportunity to help you better understand yourself. And as a special offer for Pero Let Me Tell You listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/pero. It's already more affordable than in-person therapy, and now you can save on your first month. There's even a gifting option if you'd like to help someone you care about understand the benefits of therapy in their life. We should all have a happy holiday season, and BetterHelp has helped millions take the first step in that path. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/pero. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast and this episode.
They do, but I think they don't have the effect they want it to have. And I will tell you why. I don't think I'm smarter than the average person, but I do work in marketing. And I look at these things through the lens of a marketer, which is, if you are a product, right? Let's pretend that these people, that's what they are. At the end of the day, they're a brand, they're a product. If you are a product and you show up, okay, if you're Coca-Cola and you show up and you don't tell me why Coca-Cola is the best, but the only thing that you do is tell me why Pepsi is not good, my defenses kind of go up immediately, because I'm like, well, what's Coca-Cola trying to hide?
Well, but unfortunately, I mean, I understand what you're saying.
But that's because I look at it from a marketer lens.
I agree with you 100%, but that's where we are right now with politics.
But that's why I say that doesn't work.
Not only mailers, but just the commercials.
Right.
And when politicians do any type of public speaking, it's always attacking the other side, not talking about your solutions. Very rarely are your plans or your solutions or your suggestions, your platform, are the main topic or main focus of what you're trying to get out there as a candidate.
Yeah,
it's always it's fear mongering.
I have told you
we live in a time right now where politics is about fear mongering. What are the immigrants going to do to you? What are the liberals going to do to you? What are the conservatives going to do to you? What are the drag queens doing to your children? What is CRT doing to your children? You know, it's fear mongering. It's complete fear mongering, and people respond very well to that, even if it's irrational.
Because it's emotional.
It's emotional.
It's emotional.
It's emotional.
It's emotional. I will say I want to read, and I don't know if you probably already read it, but I do want to read what Ana Navarro posted yesterday. It was about, as of right now, it's a day or so ago. So this is a post that she put on Instagram, and it's a picture of Annette Tadeo, and then on either side of her, one side is Maduro, the other side is Castro. So her post, which I think she has a very valid point, so I'm bringing it up. I'm a Miami-Dade voter. It's not rocket science. This is the kind of shit, propaganda and lies voters there have been receiving for years. Misinformation has taken hold. Democrats ineffective combating it and have been grossly negligent grassroots and party building. Trump/GOP have been laser focused on the county, gave a lot of attention consistently for 6 years, not just last minute during elections. In 2018, DeSantis barely won by the skin of his teeth against a black progressive, little-known mayor. In the years in between, the Florida GOP invested in registering new voters and painting Democrats as scary socialists. Democrats ignored the smoke alarms, fell asleep at the wheel. Even worse, Democrats nominated Christ, a recycled has-been political mercenary who's done nothing his entire life but run for political office, change parties based on convenience, not conviction, and work on his tan. It deflated enthusiasm. DeSantis went from winning by 0.4% to winning by 20%. 20. The whole damn house burnt down. Don't hate me for stating the truth.
So, there is a lot to unpack there.
And as we know, I believe Ana is still officially, at least on paper, a registered Republican.
There's a lot to unpack there.
And I think she's right on practically everything.
228 episodes of the podcast. Everybody knows where I lean politically. I say this over and over again. I've worked in politics for quite some time now. Sometimes as a main gig, sometimes as a side gig, but I've in consulting and strategy and field. I've done a lot of different things in politics. I love politics. I breathe politics. It's my thing. So, yeah, the problem is, and I'm going to try to speak to this in an unbiased manner. The problem is, so let's first unpack the big one, which is Ron DeSantis. I'm not gonna make a case for or against him.
Let's talk about the campaign.
All right. The point is, Ron DeSantis right now is sort of lightning in a bottle. He's really hot right now.
He's got momentum.
He has momentum. He's young. He gets people excited. Even if you disagree in everything that has to do with what he represents, he gets people
as far as a political figure.
He gets people riled up. Like
one way or the other.
He gets people riled up. There's energy there. Right. Usually, it's very, very, very hard to unseat an incumbent governor. Well, an incumbent anyone,
right,
but specifically governor. So, if you are going to have somebody run against him, it needs to be somebody whose energy is up there.
Right.
And we, as Democrats, came up with Charlie Crist, who has been a Republican, an independent, and now a Democrat.
Next time he'll probably be a Whig.
So if now somebody accuses him of changing his political affiliation as the wind blows, can you say that's not true?
Right.
Problem number 2. He elected as a running mate, and Charlie Crist. Okay. Problem number 2, and this is my podcast, so our podcast, so I get to say here my opinion.
Exactly.
He elected somebody to be his running mate that he should have not.
Okay.
Carla Hernandez. Carla Hernandez may be a wonderful person, and I'm sure she's a lovely leader, like a lovely person and a great leader.
Right.
She's head of teachers union.
That's right.
Right, and very respected in what she does. But she was not a good running mate. Why? She had a tweet that was very controversial.
Okay.
Right? She tweeted when Fidel Castro died, she tweeted, "Oh, people in Miami are crying, are celebrating. People in Cuba are mourning."
Oh, so he wanted to lose Miami.
So wait. So when that tweet first came into light, I'm like, oh, this is probably a thread, right?
Right.
A thread of tweets that they just got that one tweet and screenshot it and blew it up.
Context.
No,
right.
that is what she said.
No, that was it.
That was what she said.
Full
and
stop.
You know what? Just because she said that doesn't make her a communist, and it doesn't make her a socialist, blah, 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 blah.
What
the
it does
point
make
is,
her...
You just gave a huge gift to your opposition. You gave it to them in a silver platter with a big red bow. Because you know what happened when they found out about that? They started calling her Carla Comunista. Right?
And we love alliteration.
And unfortunately, maybe somewhere else, that would have not disqualified her. But in Miami, that disqualifies her.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't speak to her character. She maybe could have been a great lieutenant governor, maybe better than Charlie Crist. It doesn't have to do with what she
It's not about that right now.
But the problem is that when you are running in a state where communism and socialism are such an issue that they use against you, you
have to be sensitive to
cannot
that.
have any type of ambiguity as to that. So that's the problem the huge problem.
Which is kind of why I thought Val Demings was a great choice, because as a cop, she would come out all the time and be like, I'm not defending the police. I'm not. So you can't attack her there.
Yeah, but the problem is that Val Demings was going against Martin.
No. But what I mean is, on paper, as far as a candidate, that makes sense.
The problem with Marco Rubio, well, not problem if you like him, but Marco Rubio is a Cuban golden boy. There is nothing that Marco Rubio can do.
No, it's true, and he does nothing.
And again, I'm not even trying to be critical of the policies. I'm just trying to talk this as straight as I can, without having a heart attack. To the Cuban community, Marco Rubio is sort of a god. Right. So notice that there's other Cuban politicians like Lincoln Diaz-Balart, but the one we always hear about, is Marco Rubio, because Marco Rubio is like pious almost.
Yeah, there's some type of promise.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is, but it's pious. He's going to lead us to something. Right. So just overcoming that is very difficult. The biggest problem, I mean, if you really want to talk about performance in terms of what she said, and I had a stint at the Democratic Party last year.
That's right.
It's very badly organized. There's no
at a state level.
On a state level, there's no money in being invested in Florida. These campaigns are very expensive. Ron DeSantis, I think, had over $200 million in his campaign, whereas Charlie Crist had a few million. Ana Tadeo, who was running for the United States Congress to be in the House of Representatives. She was running for Congress, right? You know how much she received from the party? A little bit over $50,000.
That's it?
That's it. Whereas on the Republican side, these candidates were receiving millions from it. And I'm not hating on it. Why? Because they had their shit together.
Use your resources.
Now, an argument could be made, which is a very valid argument, that there's, you know, Ron DeSantis did something this year that was sort of illegal. He rammed down the Florida legislator a brand new voting map. Redistricting map, like without any type of due process. He passed it, and you know, the idea was like he passed it, so even if later it's found to be unconstitutional or valid.
What happened? The election, right. Whatever happened at the elections happened.
And gerrymandering and all that. So there's definitely an argument there. But Republicans are very well organized. They never, if they lose an election, you know what they do? The next day, they keep with outreach. They keep with outreach.
Why do you think that is compared to the Democratic Party?
Because I think that Democrats,
whatever insight
and
you
I think
had
that
working
Democrats,
for them.
and I see this time and time again, Democrats, we want to lead with values and morals. And like, people are going to do the right thing. We have to be compassionate. We have to help people. That doesn't work anymore in politics. Right?
Did it ever?
Right? Because there's a saying in politics that says, Democrats try to do the right in an election. Democrats try to do the right thing. Republicans try to win. And they do. And you can't hate them. Like, I'm not going to be
That's the goal. The goal is to win.
Be like, you know, fucking Republicans organized and they had outreach and they knocked
They had
on
their
doors,
shit together. Right? They did
Right?
the right thing.
I mean, I've said this story a few times to like my personal circles. Last year, I was working as a digital director for someone who was running for office, and they later got out. But we started a grassroots campaign that got a lot of momentum, and early on, and this was like over a year and a half prior to now. It would have been this election now. Right? This started in February of last year, so almost 2 years out.
Yeah.
And the whole idea was, we're gonna start at the grassroots. We're gonna have you. We're gonna have you. It was for a smaller precinct, so it had a very finite number. Like, you can knock on these many doors. You could have this engagement.
Feasibly, you can see 100 people.
You already spoke to your whole
your base.
Your whole constituents. You go and you speak to them again. You go and you speak to them again, and that's how you get known. And I'll never forget that when their campaign started to grow a little bit, that they brought in the experts.
Right.
They're like, no, canvassing and walking is a terrible idea. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like,
and why would they say that?
Because some people believe that. They believe that engagement doesn't matter, and engagement is everything. And Republicans are very, very good at that.
I would find that interesting stance, considering that we live in a social media world where everything is measured by engagement.
Well, I will counter that.
Not just by social media, but I mean, engagement is key now.
In the sense that there's many people in politics in both sides that are Twitter, now TikTok, and I'm like, that's great and dandy, and that's wonderful, but Twitter doesn't vote.
No. Sorry, I don't mean you have to be on them, but what I mean is, when you see things like, again, going back to the marketing and the brands. They don't just look at the reach; they look at the engagement of their campaigns.
You see all these.
So engagement is key to what you're saying.
Posters here. If one of these people would have, all these mailers that you have, if somebody here would have knocked on your door a year and a half ago, you'd have been like, I don't know you. Like, give me your paper and I'll throw it away 2 minutes later.
And then 2 months later,
they come 3 or 4 months later, like, hey, hi. Oh, I remember you. Oh, yeah, you're so and so.
Right.
That person comes again. Oh, wow, you've come to my place 3 times.
You're being active.
Or somebody from your campaign. Oh, you guys are really, engaging with us.
Oh, you're back.
Right,
yeah,
right. That's what you do. And that doesn't happen within the Democratic Party. Last year, I rang that alarm within my own circles of how just there wasn't outreach, there wasn't there just isn't, and people think that voters are going to do that. I mean, for example, the whole thing with abortion. Abortion did play a big role in yesterday's.
Yes.
But I think I even said it to you, or may have said it here. That happened, 4 months ago now? Or 3 or 4 months ago now?
6 months, let's say.
Which in politics, that's about, a millennia.
Oh, yeah.
Unless it's an October surprise.
Right.
Nobody's
voting.
It's a millennia. It still had an effect.
But not as much as when you go to the gas pump.
Right. It's always the economy. And lastly, what I will say is, I've been a lifelong liberal and Democrat. I have never been a Republican. And I'm the first one to see when my party messes up. And something that Democrats have to be very consistent on is the issue with socialism. Democrats are not socialists, and they're not, let alone communist. They're not. Are there socialists in the Democratic Party? Of course. Just like there's, extremists in the Republican Party, right? But the Democratic Party is not a party of socialism, and it's not a party of, let alone communism, right? As such, we cannot, especially in Florida, we cannot be around anyone or anything remotely.
You can't even wear red.
Remotely affiliated to that. So something that I've noticed is that a lot of times, and I'm not going to mention names, but in reading about this this election cycle now, I read a lot of articles in the New Times, and I think another one was The Insider, where a very prominent political activist here, who is a Democrat, but he's also belongs to DSA, the Democratic Socialist Party, was talking on behalf of the Democratic Party. And I'm like, no, you should not be the person making these statements, because now what are they going to do? They're going to link you up.
Right.
Because, for example, in the case of Annette Tadeo, and Annette Tadeo,
which is the picture that Ana used on her post.
Annette Tadeo, I'll tell you this, and we'll wrap up now so we can move on to the next topic. In all the years that I've been involved in politics, I have never believed in a candidate more than Annette Tadeo. And she was running against Maria Elvira Salazar.
Which is not a real person. Right. Maria Elvira Salazar, that's a person.
Yes. Hi, I'm Maria Elvira Salazar. She was running against her, right? Yeah. Annette Tadeo, I have never believed in a candidate more than her. That woman has integrity. She has compassion. She's honest. She's everything you want in a public servant, no matter what your ideology is, right? Annette Tadeo's father, she's Colombian, was kidnapped by a Marxist group.
Oh, wow.
Right? So her entire life has been shaped by that. And she has always been aggressively against socialism and communism. Aggressively.
Of course. I mean, that
all
shapes
that
you.
Maria Salazar has to do, Maria Elvira Salazar is do, as you see here in your mailers. Annette Tadeo es una socialista, and Cubans lose their mind.
And what do they base that off
on? Nothing.
Okay. No, because again, I see pictures of her like next to like Castro and Maduro. So I'm just wondering, like, did she?
No. That's a Photoshop picture of her.
No, yes, but did she meet with these people? Did she?
No. But Maria Elvira Salazar did.
Yeah, she's interviewed them. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So
which they also, I saw several ads where they were touting that as a con for.
Yeah.
For Maria Elvira.
This one right here. And that's where we live now in tribal politics, and the truth doesn't matter anymore. It's the narrative you want to paint of someone, and here, particularly in South Florida,
it's an easy way to paint the narrative.
Republicans will always post somebody as a socialist, but what do I always say to that? Sí, los cubanos no resisten el socialismo. Down with socialism and investing in social programs, pero Hialeah has the highest per capita enrollment of Obamacare. Everybody in half of Miami is on Section 8 housing, especialmente los abuelos y las abuelas cubanas.
El momento que llega cualquiera de Cuba.
They are Medicare and Medicaid.
Y los food stamps.
And the food stamps. And what is it? The track phone? The government
the government, yes.
Track phone. No, see, one time I was talking to a relative of mine that came from Cuba like 6 or 7 years ago.
Not just track phone.
Like 6 or 7 years ago. And she was having a full conversation with my parents about this, but I was there. And she's like, no, mi hija, porque tú sabes que el mes pasado, whenever, me operé de la vesícula y quedé nueva. This person has been here like 5 years.
Okay.
And I tell her, ¿Y tú pagaste algo por la operación? And she's like, no, el Medicare me lo cubrió todo. No, qué bueno. Porque yo, que soy de aquí.
Para ir al dentista.
Yo tengo un deducible de $10,000. O si yo voy al hospital, yo tengo que prácticamente pagar eso. ¿Ok? Y yo prácticamente nací aquí. Pero qué malo es el socialismo, ¿verdad? Like, we hate social programs. We hate it until they pay for what you know, and obviously, social wealth, social programs and socialism are not the same thing.
Right.
But if you hear these people chant against socialism, it's like, no. Right? But it's like, pero cuando te toca a ti, all of a sudden, you know, you change your
tune.
Your tune a little bit, right? So...
Ay, Dios mío.
You know what I wanted to mention? Changing. So, as we probably saw this week, Aaron Carter passed away.
Oh, yeah.
I, by no means, was an Aaron Carter fan.
I mean, I knew, like, his 2 songs. By virtue of being alive. I had heard it.
But you know what? It's very sad because... you could tell he was so troubled. And as his brother Nick Carter said, you know, the real villain here is substance abuse and mental illness. Yeah. Did you see what he looked like ahora prior?
Yeah.
His face was full of tattoos. Like, he was somebody who you clearly saw was in crisis. And the reason I'm bringing him up is because, you know, we're so quick to judge celebrities. And we're so quick to, like, you know, claw at them and be like,
what problems do they have?
You're a loser, you're this, you're that. But, I mean, again, imagine going through what you're going through in the public eye.
Yeah.
And you know, now everybody's like, oh, poor Aaron Carter. Every time this happens to a celebrity, it's always the same thing. Right. Yeah, but when Aaron Carter was
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
Well, yeah.
You were ripping Aaron Carter to shreds, you know? Yeah. And I don't know, I just thought that was sort of like, like, oh, hypocrisy. It is. It's a hypocrisy.
It is. And it's part of the, you know, keep the media cycle going.
Yeah. You know that I had completely forgotten, that him and Hillary Duff dated?
Pero hello, that's why the whole... Don't you remember that Vanity Fair cover with all of the teen actresses, that there was tremendo revolú between her and Lindsay Lohan because they had dated, but then they broke up and he was dating Lindsay apparently, and so it became a whole thing.
And now Lindsay's doing a Christmas movie.
And as she should be.
You know what? She was on Good Morning America sometime this week.
Yeah, the promo machine is about to hit.
Yeah. You know what? I have to say that's probably that was a good idea. Because I feel that Christmas movies...
She signed a multi-year deal with Netflix.
And I feel that Christmas movies are fail-safe.
There's always going to be a market.
Yeah.
And there's a formula.
And if it does bad, it's not like, bueno... It's not like you were on Titanic and Titanic, you know,
right? Yeah,
sank.
There's no box office.
Right.
Number one, you know, and again, Christmas. Who doesn't want to watch a Christmas movie? Yeah. You know, you put it on, even if it's background noise.
But again, the stakes aren't high.
That's what I mean. Like, even if it's background noise,
the stakes aren't high. But if it does well and people like it,
you get the credit.
You get the credit.
You get the credit.
But if it doesn't, it's also not terrible either.
Right.
So I think it's actually a pretty smart move.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of Christmas, you saw it's going to have a sequel.
I did, and I didn't even know that A Christmas Story was going to have a sequel until like maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Lo tenían calladito.
You know, it's funny that when I read that it was going to be a sequel, and obviously the same character is going to be on it, Ralphie, played by Peter Billingsley, I was like, oh, but how are they going to do that? The movie set in the 40s, but the sequel set in the 70s.
Yes, which I actually have found that I'm enjoying more and more movies that are made nowadays that are... And I hate to use period piece because lately period piece means 1982.
Right.
But I enjoy it more because any movie set nowadays, it's almost like, you know, well, why don't you just pick up your phone and call them? Yeah. Why don't you just Google it? Like, you know, right. There's like, todo se resuelve like rápido. Right. You know, by making it a period piece or an older time, you can have the stakes be a little bit higher, you know?
We really are lost.
Right, yeah, exactly. You need to stop and ask for directions.
There really isn't a phone.
Right, and that's how you wind up getting kidnapped, you know? Right, yeah. Not nowadays where you're like, oh, there's no reception.
So it's in the 70s, and, you know, I don't have my expectations really high because, again, I love the original Christmas Story so much. Yeah. Every time I play it, my parents and, like, whoever's in my house is like, oh... Here we go again. I'm like, yeah, bitches. Yeah. You're going to deal with it today.
It's once a year.
Yes.
It's once a year.
Yeah. Like, what's your favorite scene of Christmas Story?
I know it's oh my God, it's extremely problematic, but I love when they go to the Chinese restaurant at the end.
It's funny when they cut the turkey's the duck's head off.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But I know it's problematic through a certain lens. Because the way they sing Deck the Halls or whatever, like I understand the problematic of it all, but I just love the fact that this like Midwestern, all-American cookie cutter family had to wind up getting like un ganso ahí con el, just butchered
Christmas turkey.
Yeah.
No,
it was a
Chinese turkey. Well, it was a duck, but they called it turkey.
Yeah.
They
Chinese
called it
turkey.
turkey. Well, my favorite scene. But Randy, why are you crying? Because Dad's gonna kill Ralphie. I love it. Like I rewind it over and over again. I love it. And I also love like there's so many good scenes in that movie. Well, no, that movie's what's the word I'm looking for? When it's like little shorts.
It's like an anthology.
No. Well, it comes originally. It's inspired by vignettes.
Vignettes.
Right.
Yeah.
The Christmas Story, the movie, is inspired by vignettes that they put together to make the movie.
Garrison Keillor, right?
Yes. I love when the mother calls the friend's mom to tell him that she
and the kid gets the beating of his
but I
life.
love how the mom on the other side of the phone is like, like I love it. That movie, you know what's great about them? Well, I mean, I feel how we fell into that movie is how a lot of people did. That movie came out in 1983 and it was like a bust.
Yeah,
it wasn't
a flop.
Popular. I remember it from being a kid, but it didn't have a cult following.
No, until cable.
Right. And then when TBS started airing it, I was like, I mean, it's been a while that I got into it, but I'm like, oh man, it's just, it really is. It takes you back to like a simpler time. Like that's the type of movie that you're all in.
And I would say that generally speaking, aside from the scene that I just said, even today you can look back on it and it doesn't have any cringe scenes. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those movies where it's like, yes, it's of a time, obviously, the 40s or whatever. But there's not a scene there where they're just like, oh, look at the Jews, or there's nothing like overtly like, oh shit. It's still a very safe movie.
Fragile.
Right, yeah.
It
like,
must be Italian. I've always thought, I'm like, why? I mean, it's fragile.
It's fragile. Why would he not say, well, because it's a major award.
I told you, when I went to Cleveland a few years back,
that's right.
4 or 5 years ago, I was like, this is where we're first stopping. Because I'd already been to Cleveland. I've already been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We are going to the Christmas Story House first.
It's a little museum, right?
It's a museum. When I got there, it was closed.
Aww.
It had just closed.
Oh, that sucks.
But the lamp was in the window.
And you were good.
And I took a picture of it. And I was good. I was like, the lamp is in the window.
What more do you want?
Yeah. And you know that they recreated the house inside to be exactly the same.
Really?
Yeah. They sort of did a Brady Bunch thing of it. That they recreated the house to look exactly the same as it was in the movie.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember what Randy gets for Christmas?
A Zeppelin.
A Zeppelin. Yeah.
I'm like, wait, a Zeppelin. Yes.
And you know what? That's something that I actually love about that movie at the end when they get their toys. That they get toys. Whereas now it would be like electronics and whatever. They got
Here's your
toys. Headphone. And I love it. I mean, it's so well done. How when they go shopping at Higbee's, that was so typical in the 40s. That you would go, the 40s and 50s were the era of the Great American Department Store. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, your Macy's and your Sears.
Higbee's was a real department store in Cleveland. Detroit had Hudson's, that Macy's obviously in New York. Here we had Burdines.
Marshall Fields was in Chicago.
In Chicago. I mean, those were a big deal. Like when you look at those,
you would get dressed up.
Yes, and when you look at those department stores from back then, they had like tea rooms and restaurants and all that because they were destinations.
Yeah, you went there for a couple hours. You weren't
tú te pasabas el día ahí.
Yeah, tú no estabas ahí para comprarte los calzoncillos and go home.
No, tú te pasabas el día ahí. Yeah. So that I love. Yeah. I wish we could do that again.
Let's do it.
I know. And so you have to go to Marshall's and, be in line about 25 hours. The other day I went to Marshall's on a weekday, and it was like 11:20. It wasn't even noon. Because I thought,
but did you go like on a Tuesday?
No, it wasn't a Tuesday.
Oh, because Tuesday is Senior Citizen Day.
No, it was a Thursday.
Oh, okay.
And I know for a fact it was a Thursday. It was like 11:20 something. It wasn't even 11:30. So I'm like, okay, this is not the lunch.
Right.
I'm like, why are there 45 people in line at Marshall's on a Thursday at 11:20 something in the morning?
Y después la economía está mala.
And I just had to buy one thing. you know? So, whatever.
So before we wrap up, I just wanted to bring up to you something that I kind of mentioned to you in passing last week when we were hanging out, because yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are together almost every other day in some capacity. All right. You know, if there's one thing we love on this show, it's novelas. And the best part about novelas are the novela actresses.
Of course.
So I was watching on Netflix. It's only 6 episodes. I literally watched it in like a day because 6 episodes, each one's about an hour.
Right, I'm going to put this in my list of things to watch.
Yes.
Now, The Crown came out this week, but somehow I'm going to end up watching 227.
Well, speaking of The Crown, this is called Siempre Reinas.
Of course.
And it is 4 telenovela actresses. It's Lucia Mende, Laura Zapata, Silvia Pasquel, and Lorena Herrera. And they're all together.
Does Lorena Herrera, is she always permanently sexy? Like, because I feel she's the Pamela Anderson of like
of
Spanish
novelas.
television. Yeah.
Okay, Lorena Herrera was kind of like my low-key favorite because she's actually the funniest one. Like, she's the comic
I
relief.
could see that.
But I don't think of her that way.
I could see that because I could see Lucia Mende taking herself too seriously.
And she does.
Yeah, like, I'm a diva. I'm the biggest name here.
Right. And then Laura Zapata's whole thing is that, you know, pero yo no soy la villana en la vida real, pero sí soy. Like, you know, she's like, and then she's mean, and they're like, ella se cree que es la villana de la realidad. And she's like, no, es que yo soy así, whatever. So my favorite thing about this show, okay, the whole conceit is that the 3 women know each other and essentially meet Lorena Herrera in the bathroom of a piano bar. And they, you know, they kind of had known her, not really, but they're like, oh, what are you up to? Oh, no, aquí con amigo. Okay, great, whatever. One of the amigos that she's there with is like this record executive
But
producer.
does the 6 episodes take place in one night?
No. So they wind up singing at the piano bar because they're like, oh, ven a cantar. And she's like, ay, Lorena, ven, canta con nosotros. She's like, okay, whatever. So they wind up singing, which I thought it was great. They wind up singing A Quien Le Importa. Which,
that is amazing.
that is the best part about it. And then out of that,
That is so good that people don't realize how good that is.
Exactly. They're like, you know what? Just do it. Just go for it. So after the singing, the record producer guy apparently the next day invites all 4 of the women to his house for a lunch because he has a great idea. What if they record a song with the 4 of them together? And so that basically, the backbone of the show is them, you know, interacting and whatever. Fine. But I love the fact that they met Lorena Herrera in a bathroom. And then from there, they were like,
So
we're
the
a group
show is
now.
among like the studio sessions of the song?
No, it's very Real Housewives. Okay. They always feel like Jose watched a couple episodes with me, and I'm like, is this, because I've never seen a Real Housewives episode. And I'm like, is this what they're all like? He's like, yes. They all go to each other's houses for a dinner, a party, a lunch. Then there's a fight. Then one of them leaves. Then one of them goes after the other one to be like, no, come back. Then they come back. And then they leave again. And I'm like, wow, that's exactly
So who's like
what
the
happened.
biggest diva?
So the biggest diva is Lucia Mende.
Yeah, I can see that.
Is Lucia Mende. But
She's also the biggest name.
right. But my favorite part, aside from the fact that when Laura Zapata invites the women over to her house for a poker game, that they never wind up playing poker, but for some reason Laura Zapata comes
You know
down
what?
the steps with her purse
I
in her
just
own
had
house.
a total brain fart. I just realized that Laura Zapata is Thalia's sister.
Yes.
When you were, I was like, Laura, I was like thinking of Mexican, you know,
The novela
middle-aged
actress.
Mexican soap opera stars. I'm like, okay, I was going through like the filing cabinet. Laura Zapata, who? Laura Zapata.
Yes,
I was like,
Thalia's sister.
yes, a quien le importa, duh.
That's why I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's one point where Lucia Mendez and Laura Zapata are sitting in the house of the record producer. He's invited all 4 of the ladies. They're the only 2 that have shown up yet. They're sitting. They're looking at their phones. Lucia Mendez is always on her phone. They're looking at their phones, whatever. And you can hear somebody from the outside saying something like, naranjas, limones, or whatever, right? Like, you know how here we have afilador.
Yeah.
Okay. So en eso, Laura Zapata puts her phone down, like, kind of, and looks up. She's like, ay, eso me trae recuerdos de cuando me secuestraron. Because she was kidnapped
Yeah, I remember.
at gunpoint. And so then she proceeds to start to, like, you know, tell a story about how, like, when she was in the place where they were holding her, she could hear people from the street, you know, selling things, and that took her back or whatever. Now, this woman is telling the story of how she was kidnapped at gunpoint, held hostage for money for multiple days. Lucia Mendez does not once look up from her phone while she's telling this story. Lucia Mendez is scrolling and saying, I see, ay, qué horror. Ay, pobrecita, ay, qué mal. Like if she had just told
Did
her,
she go down because of that?
like if she just told her, I have a hangnail.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this woman's telling you the story of how she was kidnapped. Again, let me stress, at gunpoint.
Yeah.
At gunpoint. And she's like, oh, wow, yeah, oh my God, that's so horrible. Wow, sucks for you. Like, it was wonderful. That's my favorite part of the whole thing.
I think I'm going to have to watch it now.
You should watch it.
You know that as a kid, as many people our age, I grew up watching Lucia Mendez, especially. I thought Lucia Mendez was one of the most beautiful women in the world. I thought she was just gorgeous. And even when she did Maria Elena, which was such a big, iconic hit here in Miami in the 90s, I thought she was gorgeous, but, she went down that route of plastic surgery.
She did. Yes, she
and
did.
That didn't end too well.
But what I enjoyed the most about it is, I don't watch any of those Real Housewives things. And this was essentially that. But I think the fact that they are 4 novela actresses, for me, it kind of suspended the disbelief because I'm like, oh, these bitches are in on the joke.
They're in on the joke. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But because they're actresses, right?
Right.
There's a certain degree of expectation that I want them to be bigger than life. And, they were actually restrained compared to like your Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Right. No, but and also, these
so it was
women,
easzy for me to watch
These women are legit. Like they actually are stars or were people that were very relevant at a certain time.
Right. And to this day.
These housewives aren't really. They're relevant. They're famous because they're famous.
Right.
Not because.
Some of them were actresses in their day,
But
yes, I just had to share that. Listeners, you should watch it. It's great. It's 6 hours. It's, you know what? Ponlo while you're cleaning the house.
This is sort of like some years ago, I always say it, because I'm not huge on reality TV.
Same.
But something that I ate up and I can't disown it. I have to own it, actually. I watched I Love New York. And I ate that up. I ate that up. And I remember having like the marathons on VH1 and being like, I realize that I have less brain cells now at the end of the show than I had at the beginning, but I can't stop.
But I'm invested,
and we won't stop.
I'm invested. It is we've come too far. We can't turn back.
Who knew that one of the people that she had on her show, I Love New York,
that's right,
was going to be Jennifer Hudson's
husband.
And he's like a Harvard-educated lawyer.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Turned pro wrestler.
As one does. Listen, lawyer, wrestler, podcaster, chicken magnate. People change.
Yeah, none of us are one-dimensional.
No, at all. So, at all.
That's made me thirsty.
As it should.
So are you ready for your last soda? I'm ready for mine.
I am ready for it.
Mine is quick and easy.
Dale.
So I just want to, especially since this was a tough election year and it's finally over, I just wanted to give my last soda to everybody out there that were canvassers working the field. It's a lot of hard work going up to people and talking to them about politics and talking to them about candidates, especially in such a polarized time that we live in. No matter what side you're on, it's a very difficult job, and sometimes it's a thankless job.
That's true.
Especially here in Miami, that it's hot and it's humid and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I just canvassing and voter engagement is something that is it's one of those like very much American traditions that has been in politics for decades, if not centuries. And I just I think it's important to recognize that these are the everyday heroes when it comes down to politics. So
it's really true.
They need a lot of refreshment.
And especially down here because it's hot as hell.
Yes.
Literally.
So a drink for you.
That's awesome. So mine is actually, I don't want to say it's a similar boat, but, again, with the elections over, I think people are going through election fatigue, and you can also feel like there was just a lot of mudslinging. So I found this story originally on the Nextdoor app.
Okay, I feel I need to join this Nextdoor.
You do. It's great.
Although the Brujeria one that I told you about,
was it on?
I should join on that channel.
You should join that chat. So it was originally on the Nextdoor app, but only in Dade actually picked it up. And so my last soda is actually going to go to a librarian at the South Miami Library by the name of, I believe, Jenny Hernandez. Now, Jenny Hernandez originally on Nextdoor, but now also on Only in Dade, had submitted.
Sorry.
I mean, okay, Lucia. Like I'm about to tell a very heartwarming story here.
No, I'm trying to turn off this volume on my phone. Sorry.
And you're giving me like a musical interlude, like we're doing a Janet Jackson album.
Yeah.
All right. So she submitted this story. On Thursday, Mr. Ferguson, a single father and his two little boys, Malik and Amir, Malik is 6, Amir is 2, walked into the South Miami Library. Mr. Ferguson let me know he and his kids were at risk of being homeless as of this upcoming Monday. The family members they were staying with were being evicted. Since Thursday, I've been trying to find a place for him and the kids to stay. I've called countless organizations and everyone seems to have their hands tied. Miami resources are completely exhausted. There's too much demand and not enough supply. I've learned several things through this process. Today, more than ever, Miami families are needing to be sheltered. I thought the fact children are involved would add some sort of urgency or expedite things, but it hasn't. And to add to the inefficiency, most places are closed over the weekend. We thought we had until Monday, but yesterday morning, Mr. Ferguson was told his eviction was effective immediately, and he had to leave his home. Mr. Ferguson and his kids had nowhere to go. He called me, and I told him to come to the library with his belongings. And it turns out actually that he had gotten injured at his job, so he wasn't being able to work for a while and things like that. The reason I bring this up is because it was picked up by Only in Dade, but before then, just on Nextdoor, the amount of people who chimed in with, here's a phone number to call, ask for this person, do they need clothing? I have some things from my child that no longer fit them. I can take it. Where are they staying? The librarian, she put them up at a hotel that night out of her own pocket. People then started saying, how can we help? They set up a GoFundMe page. I think it was originally for like maybe $3,000.
Wow.
The last time I looked at it, it was over $4,000 had been raised. Not only in Dade Cares has kind of gotten involved in spotlighting it and promoting it, and people have just really come to the aid of this family. And these are the things that I cling to when you are constantly bombarded with bad news, and it seems like humanity is at its worst, and the news is horrible, and crime and murder and all this horribleness. Mm-hmm. There is still good in the world, and there are still people out there whose instinct is, what do you need? How can I help? I can't give you money. Here's the phone number. Right. Speak to this person. I already told them you're coming. There's so many ways to help that don't always involve, money helps, that don't always necessarily involve, cash. And sometimes just in the case of the librarian, Jenny, being there at the right moment and helping to be that megaphone to amplify the voice of people in need can go so much further than you ever think. So that my last soda goes to Jenny Hernandez, the librarian at the South Miami Library.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful story, and I promise I wasn't scrolling up my phone.
Lies, Lucia Mendez.
That's a great story.
Yeah, when I first read it on Nextdoor, I got a little misty-eyed.
I love how Only in Dade, does it really is
it's a community.
Yes, it's a vast array of different stories. One moment they'll post a story like this, a burning car, or somebody having sex on their balcony in Brickell.
Right. Well,
then they'll have stories like this.
And I think that's actually why they started their other handle, Only in Dade Cares. Yeah. So they could be like, listen, guys, this is a little more
we're only about, or what Only in Dade is about.
We're a little more serious with the stuff over there.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, we hope everybody listened, laughed, and learned. And as always, remember to grab your croqueta, your pastelito, and your cafecito, and join us next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Veterans Day.
That's right. Yes.
Happy Veterans Day. So a big shout out to all of our veterans.
Yes.
We wouldn't have what we have without you guys. So
we wouldn't be here without you, to be honest.
So you deserve all the accolades.
All the sodas.
All the sodas.
All the sodas.
That's going to be our... We gave our individual sodas. Now we're going to give them the soda truck. The soda
La Ratra.
La Ratra. Speaking of soda, before we go, I want to touch base on something that a listener sent us. So our listener, Javi in Tennessee, sent us a little note on what we were talking about last week of sodas, the Beverly.
Oh, the Beverly. Oh, okay.
So he actually reached out to a relative of his that lives in Italy and asked if they had drank the Beverly. And she's like, no, I've lived here already like 4 or 5 years or some amount of years. And I've never seen it. So I was like, okay, well, I know we've had the Beverly and I know it's Italian. Right. So I did a little bit of research on it. The Beverly was sadly discontinued in the Italian market in 2009. However, it's become a fan favorite in Coke world. So I was like, okay, there we go. Like,
because nobody was drinking that shit in Italy.
So everybody's drinking it like in Coke world. And there's another, I think one in Vegas, whatever the Coke world's on. Right. It still lives on, right? Because people have the same reaction that you and I have. I'm like, this is disgusting. Give me a refill.
Right.
So I can tell people how disgusting it is. Give me another refill. So it's funny how that works out, right? Oh. It's like we both know what it tastes like, but if we were to go to Coke World right now,
we would still have it.
We would have the Beverly before we have, the orange mellow yellow.
This is true. This is true. Because the mellow yellow I can get at the supermarket.
Yeah, or wherever. But the Beverly is an experience. Yes. Not a good one, but an experience nonetheless.
You know what? That's the best way to put it. It's an experience.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. So listeners, if you ever find yourself at Coke World in Atlanta or any other bottling, other Coke whatever, tasting
theme park?
No, because they don't have it at Disney anymore. Wherever.
Well, it's in Disney Springs.
In Disney Springs, yes. Make sure to try the Beverly and tag us.
Yes. Tag us when you try it.
Okay, so next time we go to Disney Springs, we totally have to have the Beverly.
For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, well, have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Veterans Day.
Cuídense. Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.
Mi papá immigrated from La Belleza, que es Medellín, Colombia, to Miami, Florida, all with one goal, pa echar pa'lante la familia. And with that same spirit, I started the Que Hola podcast. It's all about sharing the journey creatives from the 305 and beyond have traveled, the W's, the L's, pitfalls, and lessons, all with a focus on first and second generation Latinos, pero para todos los creatives. Entonces, parce, Que Hola contigo. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you stream your podcast. I'm your host, D Fig, or also we're on YouTube. Listo.